Carla will not be here.
No, she's on the
And she's on Zoom too.
don't see anything.
No, she could be joining us on Zoom.
The three things we learned about.
Okay,
So she will join us.
okay. Go then.
We're recording, we're ready.
All right. Call to order. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Evans. Here. Trustee Winkleblack.
Here.
Trustee Craig.
Present.
Mayor Wilcox.
Here. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, before we swear in the new board member, I do have a statement I would like to make.
I was told that you'd like to make a statement. Anyway,
I can't hear you.
will it be longer than the 3 minutes or?
Probably not.
Okay. But. Is it all right?
I was fine with me.
Alright.
Go
Go for
Congratulations. You have one for now. I am now one of your constituents. You answer to me just as much as you answer to your friends. I am not going away, and I'm watching your decisions and actions. You need to explain on the record and during the discussion why you are making the decisions that you are making, because all of your constituents want to know why, not just me. If you make bad decisions, you will no longer have a spot on the board because you will be voted out. You need to be careful about the actions you take. You need to respect and trust your paid staff to do their jobs. That is why you hired them. Make an appointment, come in and talk with them respectfully if you have questions. Go through the chain of command. The staff will answer your questions if you let them. If you continue to micromanage your staff, they will quit and nobody will work for you, including your friends. You are not the professionals of the town. Your paid staff are the professionals trained to carry out the missions and policies that you set out for them. Do not tell them how to do their jobs. Give them the vision. If you continue to stick your nose into the professionals' business, they will quit. You will be sued personally, and the town will be sued. Do not continue to harbor the hostile workplace that some of you have created. And you absolutely need the attorney at every meeting to try to protect the town from illegal and ill-advised decisions. You need to make sure you hire enough staff to do the job required within town hall. You can't just have a clerk and recorder treasurer. There's too much work and too many checks and balances for one or two people. They don't all have to be full-time, but at least one of them does. So much was accomplished when we have a full-time administrator, clerk and recorder with a part-time finance manager and a full-time administrative assistant. Whether you hire an administrator or a clerk and recorder, whatever the title, that person is still the administrator for the town and is the paid boss for the town. They need to oversee the paid staff, not the board. You should have one person answering to you and the rest of the staff answers to that person. Once again, checks and balances. If you think there's wrongdoing happening, you need to bring the facts to the administrator and the board so that it can be properly investigated. Spreading unsubstantiated rumors based on credible hearsay does not fix anything and may get yourself sued for slander and libel. If something illegal or wrong is happening, it needs to be fixed in the correct way. You need to respect what past boards have done, even if you don't agree with the actions. The decisions have been made, move on, especially regarding the auditorium and law enforcement. As you have been told, the auditorium renovation is more than 50% funded by grants. If you stop the renovation now, you will have to pay back those grants, costing the town hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is no grant money available for new buildings. The property taxes of the town residents have not been raised due to the renovations of the auditorium. Once the auditorium is finished, people will want to use it again, and it will be available year-round, helping to pay for itself. As you have been told by more than one administrator, the contract with Mason County Sheriff's Office is the most cost-effective way to provide law enforcement for the town. The town cannot afford to provide its own law enforcement, including all the required services for the cost of the contract we have with the Sheriff's Department. Having our own town marshal's office will require a budget at least twice what is currently budgeted for law enforcement. Where is that money going to come from? Previously, our marshal's office was woefully underfunded and undermanned. We have never had 24/7 law enforcement. We just had one or two overworked and underpaid marshals. The town needs to continue to look forward. There are infrastructure projects that need to be planned and executed. These projects don't get done in 6 months. They take 2 or 3 years of planning, design, and construction. You can't fix things with a backhoe, shovel, and baling wire anymore. There are rules and regulations on how things need to be done. Through careful management of funds, the town has a substantial rainy day fund that can be leveraged to earn grants and low interest loans for major projects. The past administrations have done a great job of getting major infrastructure projects done without going into debt. Make sure you do not squander those funds. There will be a time when the town needs them. Above all, you need to respect all the citizens of this town. You do not have a mandate to do whatever you want. You have an obligation to do what is right for the town. Worrying over minutia is not what is best for the town. Worrying about the infrastructure and the businesses is. If you continue in the direction you have been going in the past year, voters will turn against you in larger numbers than what it took to recall me. Your decisions are being watched. Make good ones.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Good luck.
Do you want your name?
We'll save it for now.
You know, at this time, I would like to take an opportunity to thank Hilda Evans for her time, her effort, her commitment to the town government, to the town people, and to the people of this community. So I thank you very much, Hilda. Bravo. Thank you very much.
Item number 4, swearing of the newly elected board member, William Bethel.
You answer me. I, William R. Bethel, the second,
I, William R. Bethel II,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and uphold
to support and uphold
the laws and Constitution of the United States,
the laws and Constitution of the United States of America,
the laws Constitution of the state of Colorado,
the laws and Constitution of the state of Colorado,
and the laws municipal code of the town of Collbran, Colorado.
the laws and municipal codes of Colorado, Colorado.
And that I will faithfully perform the duties
And I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Town of Collbran Board of Trustee member.
of the office of trustee of board member of Colorado, Collbran,
Got it. Upon which I am about to enter
of which I am about to enter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome, Mr. Bethel.
Thank you.
Welcome. Are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
I would like to change 12 and 13, 13 place 13 before 12. Reason I'm suggesting that is that those individuals that came from asset construction could then leave when we're done with that executive session. They're not bound to have to stay for the other executive session. So I just like to reverse number 12 and 13.
That's to be opposed to do that.
Hello, folks. This is Angie. Just want to let you know that I am online. I apologize, I am late. I had a family emergency this evening that I had to attend to, so I am remote this evening.
Would you like to make a motion to that?
I'd like to move that we revert number 12 and 13 on the agenda and entertain the executive session on item 13. And then number 12 to follow that.
Motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? May we have a vote?
Trustee Price,
Yes.
trustee Bethel,
Yes.
trustee Winkleblock,
Yes.
Mayor Wilcox.
Yes. All right. Persons not on the agenda, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and address your comments to the mayor directly. Identify yourself by name and address when making comments. Comments should be courteous, civil, and constructive. The town board will make no decisions nor take action except to direct town management or town manager, town attorney. Are there any people that would like to speak for 3 minutes? Okay. Hearing none. Go to item number 7, approval of monthly accounts payable. Is there any discussion?
I got a few questions. Is Carla available or?
I believe she's on Zoom.
I am.
Carla, so every month it must be a transfer. It just says main operating account. Where does this come from? Is it a transfer?
I'm sorry, what are you referring to?
Okay, under receipts, it says main operating account. $478,504.01.
Yes.
Is this a transfer from another account?
No, those are receipts into our general operating account from a variety of sources. So that's where the Mesa County sales tax, in this particular case, last month, we received payments for the broadband and for the CDBG grants.
Okay, is there any way to do a detailed report of deposits? Or is that just not kosher? Because
If The board wants to request that, they could be added.
Okay. Can we add that to a future agenda item? I'll request it in a little bit. And then the other thing was, old staff member was reimbursed $239.88 on February 7th. Do you have the receipt for that? And can you explain that reimbursement?
I do, yes. What happened is we had some Adobe software that was being used by the administrative assistant. It came up for renewal more than a year ago, and we were having problems with our credit card at that time. So former administrator Matarazzo provided her credit card so we could activate it so that we could use it that evening, and it set up a recurring payment. Then when it renewed this year, it charged to her account, and I do have the receipt.
Okay. And we do have the program?
We do. It is on the front desk computer.
Okay.
It is a monthly service fee charged on an annual basis for Adobe Pro, which is what we use to compile the board packets and number them, etc.
Gotcha, okay. And then I was just curious, I have a question about the expenditures. Is this a direct copy from your Cassell report, or is this just a PDF?
So I run it out of Cassell and save it as a PDF. And they are a number of different reports. So I use Adobe Pro to compile them into a single report.
Okay. And then the other question is the PV school water line. We have a lot of charges for them from the attorney. Is all that being rolled over to the school?
I have not billed the school for it, but it is reasonable to bill them for it. Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. And then we also were charged from Wasatch Surveying for the school water tank line tank easement. Is that being rolled over to the school?
We can compile a full list of all the charges related to the school, and then at the board's discretion, you could direct that they be billed back to the school.
Okay, that'd be great. They said they would cover the entire cost, so. That's all my questions.
That was part of us agreeing to write the grant for them,
Yeah,
right?
that's my only questions. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Get a motion?
I move that we approve the monthly account for
Yeah, I'll second that.
Trustee Bethel?
Yeah.
Trustee Craig?
Yes,
Trustee Lingelblack?
yes.
Mayor Wilcox?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimous.
okay. Board member interviews and possible appointment of a new board member to be determined. So,
I would like to note here at this point that Mr. Dalrymple did stop by today. Apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly, and mentioned that he wanted to withdraw his application.
and I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Ed withdrew his
Oh, okay.
application.
Thank you. So. Would you like to interview Norman or?
Well, I believe that we should have more than one applicant for possible appointment to board members. I believe that we should delay it at least one more month and see if we can get more applicants other than just the one. Actually, with one, it's basically no choice.
I Oh, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Leslie.
To me, Norm went, how many signatures did you get in your nomination packet to go on the ballot? You put forth a lot of effort to get on the ballot. You adhered to the deadline, you adhered to every requirement. Your interest looks really good to me. You have a strong interest in transparency and responsibility and infrastructure, and I'd like to motion at this time that we appoint Norman Stolly to the board.
Do we have Mr. Staley approach the podium, please? I would like to ask some questions. Can you tell me why you chose to circumvent the established April 2026 election date? By filing a petition to recall two of the board members, can you tell me why you chose to do that? Because I felt that wasn't done correctly. You felt what? It wasn't done correctly. Okay, what wasn't done correctly? The process. All right, and he felt that that process wasn't done correctly by those two particular individuals? On 10. Do you specifically have anything to identify what they were not doing correctly?
I think it was all stated in our review, that we then had put our petition put forward to be recalled.
But the petition was very vague. It did not cite anything that either one of those trustees had done.
It did, in the petition, it said why we filed for it. So why are you saying that is vague? When the attorney, the magistrate said that it was a legal petition.
Okay,
What he's saying is Judy Egbert approved the position or approved the petition. And went through that process. That's why we hired her, so that we would have somebody that's not.
Non-biased.
Yeah, she was non-biased, and that's why we hired her. To make sure that it was done correctly.
so can you tell me what you're referring to in your statement here that you want to, we have over extravagant spending and over indulgence and unnecessary expenditures. Can you tell me what you're citing on those two statements? Specifically?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, I haven't been, I just know what I've been seeing at the board meetings.
But I mean,
You're sitting here telling people, I can't give you a specific what you've actually done.
well, I guess if you would just state that it's extravagant, over extravagant spending, there must be something in your mind that makes you think that some.
One is your attorney, you're paying $300 an hour.
Yeah.
For every meeting, he sits right there in the Zoom. And as Matilda said, to cover your month. I think that's extra. I think that's uncalled.
Okay.
I don't see why there has being an attorney. You're paying $300 for. To monitor. The. Me.
So you said that, you know, you wanted to see more public interest in restoring the transparency and trust that has been lacking in our town hall and citizens. You remember making that statement?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you think that your being on the board is going to increase that transparency and that trust from the town citizens?
Well, I think so. I went and put forth the effort. To get my name on the ballot. And I put forth my name, an effort to be on the board after the election. I did everything to advocate for.
So when trustee Sense resigned, there then not only became one position that was going to be filled through the recall. So when that happened, then you and Mr. Beppel had put your names in for election, should both of them be recalled, but only one was recalled because the other one resigned. So that means the resignation came open to this process right here. right? So when you found out and you came in and you talked with the town manager, how did you approach her, would you say? Was it professional?
As far as that's concerned, yes.
Oh, okay.
Or were you here? Were you present?
No, I was not here and I wasn't present, but I know people who, they told me differently.
No, Billy, you have the right to sit there and make accusations.
There's no accusation. Now, my question to you was, did you approach it professionally?
The way I look at it,
Yes. And you were cool, calm, and collected?
the way I am right now.
Was the law enforcement asked to take you outside the building?
No, he does not.
Was not asked to do that?
No,
He did not ask to take you out.
no. You walked out with me.
Walked out with you.
You would stand right there at the edge of the counter. And I said, well, I can see this isn't going anywhere. And now, if this is what I gotta do to get on the board or to be qualified for a position, then this is what I'll do. I said, I don't think it's right. I said, I want to know where it said in law books
Okay.
where it stated I had to re-petition
Okay.
the court or re-petition the board to come on to it.
So, and you obviously read the leadership attributes that were asked of a person who applied for the position, is that correct? Okay. So that said that there was a general understanding of municipal governments. So when you came in to discuss that issue, did you kind of demonstrate you didn't really have a general understanding of what would transpire once Ms. Zentz had resigned? Okay, so I'll just move on. So I guess, part of my question is, and it's going to influence whether I vote before you or not, is I'm concerned about integrity of the recall, as opposed to allowing those two individuals to complete their 2-year term. And because they had done nothing wrong, nothing cited that was wrong. I have concern about strong communication building skills and the way that you spoke with Andy, and she can address how she feels that the communication went. And then your willingness to work cooperatively with others. It didn't seem like you're willing to work very cooperatively with her the day you walked in and you found out that you were not going to be on the board, that you had to apply for a position.
No, that's not what happened.
Okay. So you say.
There are two sides to every story.
Well, actually,
Oh,
three.
yeah, absolutely true.
There's 3 sides. There's one person's the others, and then that's why we have a judge to make those decisions. And I have heard, I've heard him speak before. I've never heard him speak any more passionately than what you're speaking right now, and what Melanie Clark brought as far as our code of conduct and treating the citizens as a board with respect. And part of the hearing that we had when the judge was here, Gary, told the question, Ed, and the way that was done, I didn't think was as respectful as it should have been, but that was just my perspective. So.
My perspective is quite different. This is Angie, by the way, Mr. Stolly, I am online. I was present when you came into town hall, and I do remember the hostility and the physical motions toward me that you were taking. Continuously yelling the word stupid and being very, very hostile. And I did put that all into an email and send that out to the board. And I would say that some of the statements that you've made this evening are incorrect.
Is there footage on the body cam from the police officer?
That I don't know, but I did have to call the police officer up front, and he did escort Mr. Stolly. I'm sure, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but he did escort him out of the building.
Well,
And it's my understanding.
From what I understand from Norm, he asked why he had to go through that much of an application process when he just turned in a petition, a nomination petition, correct?
Yes.
And he was quite frustrated because he wasn't applying for a job, and you told him that was state statutes, and he asked you where. And
He
you
did not
said,
ask me where.
you told him he would have to refer to an attorney. And he-
That's incorrect, and I think you're testifying on behalf of someone when you were not in fact present.
I heard,
Um,
and I heard your side. You didn't say anything that he said other than this is stupid. What was he calling stupid?
the law.
Didn't,
He was calling the law stupid.
he was asking for a rep.
Explain to Mr. Stolly, I am speaking. I explained to Mr. Stolly that I was hired and I took an oath of office to uphold the laws of the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Colorado, and the laws of the municipal code in Collbran.
Yes.
I explained that to him and he did not handle that well. Then he claimed to be hard of hearing. And in fact, it wasn't him that claimed to be hard of hearing. After he left, the mayor's wife shortly thereafter came back into the building and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice." She gave me the same piece of advice 2 times. It was a completely inappropriate interaction. I remained very professional. I felt concerned for my personal safety, and I did call the officer up to be a witness. He did escort Mr. Stolly out of the office, and it's my understanding that Mr. Stolly was told that if he did that again in town hall, that he would be banned.
Is this true? Did you tell him he would be banned from town hall if this happened again?
We had a conversation about raising voices and using profanity. How best to
Oh, so now there's profanity too? It was stupid and now it's profanity? Okay, well, I'm just,
What I don't understand, what is the difference in the process that Ed was able to write a letter of intention, which he has withdrawn, than what Mr. Stolly had to go through? Because I understood tonight that we were possibly going to interview Ed as well as a second possible trustee or second choice. I'm just wondering why one was allowed and the other wasn't, you know.
So any applicants that submit their application or letter of interest, I am required to present that to the board. The board has the discretion to extend the deadline to hire and place in that appointment any person that they want or engage in a public election. So Mr. Dalrymple came in today and he withdrew his application. Initially, the withdrawal was received by Dusty. And then I did come out and speak with him and, you know, I respect his decision. It's a big role to fill and, not everybody has the time for it. So, but I cannot speak for Mr. Dalrymple's reasons.
No, I guess my question was, he was able to put in a letter of intention, and I have had high respect for Ed, and frankly, his business. I just wondered why he didn't have to fill out the same application that Norm did.
Application was not required. You know, the only thing that was requested in the job posting was a letter of interest and a resume or background, you know, information. So any
Okay.
applicants that come forward, I certainly won't be the one to turn them away. That's a board decision. And I
Okay.
definitely have to present those to you and let you make those calls.
Yeah, I was just trying to sort it out because that's what he was calling stupid was the whole application is my understanding. I don't.
There was no requirement for the application itself was just the request of an application was a cover letter to a resume. That was the request.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Application form, I don't even know where that came from. That came with,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought was stupid, was the
Yeah.
whole application and?
Yeah.
And you didn't understand that you could have just wrote a letter of intention and what you're,
That's what I understand.
I'm just trying to understand.
Well, that was my understanding. That's why I said it was stupid. I said I already went through the town and got signatures to be put on the ballot
Right,
and for the recall through the legal magistrate. That said it was a legal process. And then I didn't understand why I needed to do another letter or application.
When you already voiced your interest.
What I said I already been with me. And I had people don't know me. Who know that I'm interested. It's not like they didn't, you're just picking me out of the hat and saying. You're on board.
Mhm.
I mean, the town knows that I was running for a position. And I didn't get enough votes to win. But I got enough votes, enough people said that they acknowledged me.
who's talking?
That's the new appointee.
Will expressly state here that Mr. Stolly's voice was many octaves higher than it is right now.
Have you had training in de-escalating situations with your management experience?
I have.
Oh,
Difficult people.
I think it's important to set healthy boundaries if someone is becoming physically hostile. I am not the person to deal with that. That's an officer that I needed to call forward.
if he became
I had
physical.
to call a police officer. I had to call a police officer
Mhm.
to be present and escort this man out of the building.
I think if he was physically hostile, he would have been issued a ticket.
He
Summons.
was physically hostile.
Okay. Well, I have a motion. If we have a second. If not, it dies.
okay. Oh, maybe hear your motion.
I motion we appoint Norm Stolly to the board for our vacant trustee seat.
I second the motion.
Okay,
He put in his time.
Come to a lot of meetings.
he has had a lot of interest, he is new to the town, so probably, not as many people know him as. Know us, since we've been here for a long time and in the community, but. He's been interested and come. Probably more than I have before the election. Is there any other discussion?
I contacted 5 people who live in this town. And asked them if they would consider filling out an application for this position. And every one of them said no, and every one of them said no, because of the current climate. This board and in this town and this government. So I think, regardless of what happens here in this appointment, everybody should be aware of that, because it's not gonna go away until things get better. And
I
it's not
have
gonna be
been
solved by
actively.
recalls. And if you want to recall, then recall me, because I'm not gonna put up with a lot of the kind of things that are going on. To circumvent the correct procedure to get people on the board. By way of recall and other methods such as that. So yeah, that's all I've got to say.
I actively recruited at the request of this board. I went out into the community and when I was out and about, I encouraged anyone who might be interested in applying. I heard the same thing that Gary just expressed. I also heard that some people are afraid to attempt to join the board, that some people they just absolutely don't want to deal with it, with the behavior.
Absolutely.
And specifically of you, Miss Price. And I'm gonna call that out.
That's absolutely fine. I've asked a lot of questions that haven't been answered. I can respect that there has been a way in this town that the board said yes to everything and nobody was asking questions. And I know it's intimidating when somebody comes in and asks questions.
We got a motion in a second.
Yes,
Respectfully, I don't find it intimidating when people ask questions. I think it's the approach.
that's fair. Mhm.
So after a motion and a second, then we ask if there's any further discussion. And I as well canvassed the community before the election when I was asked to run for mayor, and because I had put in time before as a trustee, I mentioned to several that I would like to see a younger generation because they're raising their children and get involved with the community. We started to come to the meetings on a regular basis and, you know, the Easter egg hunt and such. And, you know, none of them were willing. We did have one, I believe Brian, but then he decided not to. He backed out as well. It's not whether you're, people have their perspectives, whether you're in the community, whether you're staff or whether you're on the board to get judged. And I know that from past experience. So, and I respect their perspectives. We all see things differently. But I still think that, and I appreciate Melanie bringing the code of conduct, because I still think that we need to treat each other with respect and knowing. So I think Norman would probably think, you know, before he got passionate or whatever, and follow that code. This is the resolution to treat the staff. I would expect him to treat the staff and the rest of the board and the citizens with respect.
I would also discourage one-on-one meetings. There's a lot of one-on-one meetings. When questions are asked, we're told to schedule one-on-one meetings. We're trying to implement accountability and transparency. And so if there's a question that comes from the community or a board member and it can't be answered in a public forum, that's lack of transparency. So I would just encourage the one-on-one meetings to stop. I would like to encourage the surveillance to be put in place.
I'm gonna state right here and right now that I have attempted to set up a staff retreat on multiple occasions, Trustee Price, for which a couple of days, or maybe it was last night late, in which I received an email from you saying at the last minute you could not attend our group meeting for the board retreat on Friday. And that was actually a time that you had specifically given me of 3 different options that you would be available. And that has been scheduled for some time. So I do not think, I've also one-on-one meetings. I have had one one-on-one meeting with you specifically and received in that meeting a list of demands. And when they haven't gone in as quickly as you want, here we are.
Well, it was 6 weeks, but I'm not.
I cannot act on behalf of the instruction of one trustee individually. This has to be a group effort. We have to sit down, collaborate, come up with a strategic plan, which is approved then by the majority of the board. It cannot be the Jessica show.
I completely understand that, and I'm not requesting that. But when
that seems to be what you've been requesting all along, Trustee Price.
Okay, yes, I did request for the surveillance
on multiple occasions. That's what you've requested of me. I have a list of demands from you.
Yeah, I have a list too. I requested for information on the foundation. I requested for information on our water rights. These are very detailed things that a trustee should be informed about.
You have taken away with that core request, you have taken away the time in which I could have actually done the work on the projects
Right.
that you want to have done.
This is the town.
No.
Since I have been here, your interactions with me have been very subversive,
Angie,
divisive. I am not done.
if I could get you to schedule a public hearing to reprimand me in public, that's fine. But right now, that's
I am
not.
not done speaking.
So the staff works for the board, and right now we're directing that this meeting move
I'm
on.
not your whipping post, Trustee Price. I get to speak too. It's called freedom of speech.
It's not on
Okay.
I am disgusted with your behavior.
It's not
Shame
on.
on you.
For the board of this, we made it, yeah.
We need to come back to Norman, and those things probably should be brought up on, agendas so that the entire board is on the same page, with all of the information. But this is where I say we really do need to,
You have a motion.
is there any more discussion about Norm's request to be on the board? Hearing none, may we have a vote?
Trustee Price,
Yes.
trustee Bethel.
Yes.
Trustee Lincoln,
No.
Mayor Wilcox.
Yeah.
Are you in? What's the correct pronunciation of the last name?
Staley.
Staley. Please raise your right hand. I, Norman Staley, do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the laws and Constitution of the United States, the laws and Constitution of the state of Colorado, the laws and the municipal code of the town of Collbran, Colorado,
Laws. The town of Collbran.
and that I will faithfully perform those duties. The office of town of Collbran Board of Trustees member of the office
Of the office.
of the town of Collbran Board of Trustees member, upon which I am about to enter
On which I'm about to enter.
to the best of my ability. Welcome, Mr. Mashali. And then some great pictures.
Okay.
So the packet that all the trustees have already gotten. And then we'll work on getting you, you and Mr. Bethel. your application.
So. I would just say, and I've been treated with respect, so I just hope that everybody can. Do the same. I mean, I know that it's been tough and it's gonna be tough until we get things. I mean, as far as I know, we're following through with the auditorium, so we'll work on that. But let's move on to. The board training session presented by. The Department of Local Affairs, or DOLA, the regional manager, Dana Calvin. Good evening, Dana.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and trustees. I wouldn't, I know you have some administrative items that report by Patco Valley days.
Yes,
If you wanted to do those first. I don't know how many people are here for those versus this. So it's ready to first, it makes it
okay.
better for your citizens.
Does anybody have a issue with that? Okay. So. I would make a motion that we. Change item number 9. Or yes, item number 9. With item number 10. for the board training presentation to the Plateau Valley Heritage Day Rodeo Committee and move actually, number 9 bypass 11 because we have the 4th of July of Main Street Activities Committee presented as well. So we
Make Dola number 11.
So move
Yes.
9 to where?
make
11.
Dola number 11. Make Heritage Days number 9 and 4th of July Main Street number 10. So I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion?
Oh,
Okay, we have a vote, please.
Trustee Winkleblack,
Yes.
trustee Craig,
Yes.
trustee Bethel.
Yes.
Trustee Sally,
Yeah.
Mayor Wilcox,
Yes,
motion passes unanimous.
thank you, Dana. So we will move on with the Plateau Valley Heritage Days Rodeo Committee presenter Tammy Clark. Good evening, Tammy.
Good evening. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tammy Clark. I'm actually the president of the Plateau Valley Heritage Days Rodeo Committee. Originally, I was on this agenda tonight, because a couple of months ago, I came to you to try to figure out how to work out Main Street, since we had lost our the administrator who has done that for the last 10 years. So I attempted to work on that, attempted a couple of meetings that did not go the way that we had planned for them to go for a variety of reasons I won't get into this evening. But I did submit a proposal to you, as you had asked for. However, after listening and being involved and not getting any response and hearing a lot of backlash from the community at this point, I would like to just have you go ahead and ignore that proposal. Plateau Valley Heritage Days Rodeo Committee is stepping away from Main Street. We are no longer interested in doing that. You have individuals who want to do that on their own, for their own interests. So we are going to step away from that. I came to you and asked you if you would like me to help, because I have 22 years of experience putting on Heritage Days and including all of the Main Street events, but that has not been respected or appreciated or wanted. So I have plenty of other things to do. So we are stepping back away from that. And you have other people in this community who apparently want to do that without our help. So we're stepping away from that. So please disregard that proposal that I gave you. What I would like you to consider perhaps is this year, the 4th of July is on Friday, which is rarely happens. So as a rodeo committee, we had talked about perhaps trying to keep people involved and active on a Friday night in Collbran, and perhaps doing a concert at the rodeo grounds after the rodeo, and perhaps maybe doing a ground show of fireworks, just small in the arena, if that would be feasible. We're pursuing that, the possibility of that. So we are kind of interested to know if you would be interested in perhaps sponsoring a band coming in for the 4th of July. I realize we can't sponsor everybody who wants a band on the 4th of July. Normally we never ask you for that, because we don't usually do it. People go home on the 4th because they have to work on the 5th, but not the shift. So it looks like we won't have fireworks because the contracts were not fulfilled, is my understanding, and they probably aren't available at this point. So we were curious if you would perhaps consider taking a little bit of the money you originally allocated for the 4th of July fireworks and put it towards maybe some ground fireworks and a concert after the rodeo, at the rodeo grounds on the 4th of July as a one-time thing, not a continual thing, but because it is a Friday night. And to perhaps keep people from going out and shooting off fireworks in the drought and setting the town on fire and all of the things that might happen on a Friday night and keeping people there and keeping them in town. So, I don't have a formal proposal for you at this point. We can continue to discuss it, or I can bring a proposal to you at the next meeting if you would like. But that is something we'd like you to maybe think about and talk about amongst yourselves. And would definitely add to 4th of July celebration. And keep people busy, keep people in town, keep people celebrating in a safe manner. So that's a possibility that we'd like you to consider. I did in the packet, the one thing that I did submit with the street closure for the running of the board meeting, we are responsible for that too. So you do have that permit in front of you to approve. But the other street closures are going to have to be on whoever decides to run your Main Street events. So those were not submitted.
It's sad to me to hear that you guys couldn't work together. This is our first year of having a community event planning where it's put in the hands of the constituents, and obviously we can't give money to every single person who comes and wants to put on an event on the same night. We don't, and the thing is, we haven't had much, we don't know how to establish a community committee. And we don't, because the staff has done this for years, and the new staff says that's not staff's job. But we've had no direction or input on how to establish a community committee. And it would have been nice for everybody to be able to work together. You obviously have the experience, you have the resources, you have the insurance. Are you still willing to help them insure with your insurance? Or have we found out if the town has insurance for this event?
I spoke with Thurston today. And the town's insurance, because it is not being sponsored and ran by the town anymore, will not cover. Those events only covers it if it is an event that the town itself is putting on. And they do offer, and she was supposed to send me information on it, I just haven't gotten it yet, on a special events insurance program that they offer to individual people. And that may be an option. And I had planned on forwarding that to everybody once I get it from Thurston. But because it was town done previously, that's why it was all covered.
Right, and we had insured our own thing and then we additionally insured the town. Originally, we had said, we would try to help umbrella under our policy as a total event. When I first came and said, I will help you do this. But at this point, some of the ideas that have come across there's a lot of liability with some of the ideas I've heard through the grapevine. And the rodeo committee is not willing to put our name out on the liability issues that potentially could come from that. If this other committee that is taken over and to do things comes to us with a solid plan that does not make us liable and comes up with the additional cost of those, there's a possibility I'll take it to the other board members and we can certainly discuss it. There's a lot of liability with 4th of July events, a lot of liability with beer on the street, a lot of liability with the band, a lot of liability with kids carnival, all of those things because you have so many spectators. So we would need to see a solid plan and funding coming from that committee to help us pay for that, because that will exponentially increase our insurance to put on a rodeo itself. The 3-day bar event that we do insure cost us $3,000, probably adding the additional, we'll make it a $5,000 weekend for insurance to cover all of those things, particularly because they are on Main Street with so many spectators, so much public property, all of those things. So the general thought of the committee originally was no. However, should this other committee decide to come in with us and present it, I can certainly take it to the committee. And if it looks like the liability is not going to be an issue and they can come up with the additional costs, we can certainly consider that. But, some of the things that I've heard seem like there's a lot of liability that has not been considered, and so we are not willing to put our name on that at this point. But I'm not saying no, I'm saying if they come with a solid plan, we'll certainly.
Have you reached out to the other committee that's in the process to work with them?
I have tried, we had a meeting on the first week of whatever that, the last week of February, that kind of fell apart. I also attempted to request a meeting on the 7th to discuss it. That unfortunately was billed by staff as all of the events for the town. I was not aware of that. So was not aware. I still tried to talk about Heritage Days, which apparently upset some people, that I tried to take that and try to turn that into that committee. I recently sent out a couple of different emails. I haven't heard back from one person from that. You know, when I tried to say, these are the things we talked about, they needed proposals, I heard back from one person. No other communication whatsoever. So I don't want it drama. We have plenty to do on the rodeo grounds. We'll have a great event. So we are stepping back from that.
Okay.
And we're going to continue putting on the rodeo grounds events, and we'll have a great program.
So this,
I for one, I know you put a lot of passion and a lot of effort into it for 20+ years. And
We have done this for 22 years, including when we had a chamber of commerce, and then when we didn't, we took over everything. And I said, Melanie, please take the need to take over them. She did, and then she's taken over it. So we've done all of it for sure for 22 years. This is our 22nd year. Missy Wallace and myself have sat on the committee now for 22 years.
well, I'd like to thank you and Missy, because I've had a lot of.
yeah, there's a lot of work in
There's a lot of work.
if I remember correctly, you guys drug it out of the gutter.
Yeah, we did. We kind of took that over when it was dying and about to no longer be an event at all, and we did pull that back together and got the rodeo grounds to the Kansas Skate Park, and all of the thing, the drama, and the 22 years worth of 4 town managers and all kinds of different staff and all kinds of different circumstances for sure.
And I personally, from feedback from the community, I think it would be a great idea that if we could do some ground fireworks for the community, and like you say, keep them in and keep things going.
That was kind of something the committee talked about, and so I figured I would come and just bring it to you and see what your thoughts are on that. And we'd have to pursue what we can do, what size we can do, what legally is ever set fireworks on. So I'll find some experts that know a little bit more about that, but I think it would, because it's a Friday night, if it was a Tuesday where everyone going back to work, we would never even bring that, because everyone needs to go back to work, but it is a Friday. A lot of people will be staying, they'll be hanging out at the rodeo grounds because they tend not to leave if they don't have anywhere to go. They like to hang out and tailgate and things like that. If we had some more entertainment there that night, I think it would be beneficial.
Doesn't part of the participants for the rodeo stay in like some of their horse trailers or whatever?
Often, it just depends on where they're headed the next day.
Okay.
We do have a pretty good run, rodeo wise, I believe. Craig is the 2nd and 3rd. Fires is the 3rd and 4th. Beaker is the 5th and 6th. We're the 3rd and 4th, so they have a pretty good run so we should get a pretty good contestant base.
I just remember.
And
some
those
people
were
staying.
stay here, if they perform here on the 4th, and they're gonna go to Meeker on Saturday. Often they stay over there overnight.
Okay.
So that would be why we would just want to keep, do some ground, some kind of pyrotechnics within the arena. And we would definitely tell those individuals to put their horses in the trailer, put their dogs away, and let them know we will be doing that. Should we choose to do that?
Yeah.
So yes, but they do, some of them do stay, they do stay in town. So they'll eat at the diner or something in the morning and get some fuel and
I know a lot of people come up from the valley too to watch the rodeo and have in the past, you know, we've had requested fireworks for years, but.
Right, that's just a
Okay.
question somebody calls when they call me, are you getting fireworks, are you getting fireworks? And it just hasn't worked out for a variety of reasons. I know that they were working on it last fall, but they said, you guys set aside some funding. You know, we certainly don't want you to use all your funding, but, if you are interested in partnering with that, we encourage you bill you as sponsors of these two things. We can put up banners, we can do whatever, like, you know, that we absolutely, the town did this, it wasn't the rodeo committee, as that was the town sponsoring those things, so that's good press, good PR for you. Awesome. We will have to pursue the actual logistics of doing it, because it's a new thing, we have put a concert on over there, but we've never put on any kind of fireworks there, so we have to find out exactly what we could and could not do. But, we just thought, since I was on the agenda anyway, we'd bring it tonight and let you kind of think about that, and then let me know what I need to provide to you. Should you decide to continue with that idea and support that idea. And we certainly know that you can't support everybody who comes to you. So you don't, we totally get it too, so either way.
With the band, would that be at the rodeo grounds then again, or?
Yes, we would put it, we'll just pull them in right after the bull riding. Our plan would be, if we do set off any kind of pyrotechnics, right after the bull riding, we'll kick the lights, play patriotic music, set off whatever we set off, pull in the flatbed. I have an amazing sound guy who I think can just plug in a band really quick, and we can open the arena for dancing and let people hang out and listen to the band for, say, till midnight or something like that. That's kind of the kicked around idea that we have.
I've seen similar things down at the Mesa County rodeo grounds, you know.
Right, so yeah, we wouldn't go anywhere, we would keep it all over there, everything would stay over there. And everything would be preset, so we just roll that flatbed in and let my sound guy plug it in into the speakers, and however he does his magic, because he does like the Coors Pent at the NFR, and he does all kinds of huge things, so he knows how to do all. So I would just say, Jake, here's what we want, and he will figure it out for us, but that would be the plan. And people can sit in the stands, they can sit on their truck on the hill, they can come down. And we'd probably open up set up a section for dancing in the dirt, but if people want to do that, we set me in a phone common area where they could do that. Because it's a Friday night. But it's probably been at least 10, maybe 12 years since we've had a concert over there.
Okay, oh, the announcer, now this would be completely separate from the parade.
Yes, this has nothing to do with that unless you choose, if this particular committee chooses to pay Jake to bring in his sound. I can certainly make those connections for them like we've done before. If they choose to pay the announcer to announce the parade, I can certainly put them in contact with Tonka. We can work together with that if they so choose. Jake has always charged about $450 to bring his sound down for the parade. I did put that in somewhere in that proposal. And then if you choose to hire Tonka, the announcer, to announce the parade, like we had discussed, the March 7th meeting, and also here in the board meeting. He said he would probably charge about the same as Jake. He didn't give me an actual set price, but I'm assuming about the same $400 or so to announce that, maybe less, maybe more, but we'd have to actually get a contract with him if that's what this other committee chooses to do.
Okay.
So, but they would need to let me know, so I can put them in contact with JD.
Okay.
These are the good versions of our brochure for you.
Last time I gave you just paper copies, but
Version. And there you go. We also we will go ahead and advertise all events on our big posters and on the radio and that kind of thing. You're not going to be part of producing them. But we will put them, be like usual, like we always have our big posters with all of the events, we will put those on there also. And they will get mentioned on the radio and stuff like that, we're not pulling out entirely, but we're just backing off from what I've been planning to do.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or thoughts? Is there any input from the community that would, since this is a complete community town event? Okay,
What would be the, so as part of the fireworks event? Would that be more cost effective than what we had already allotted for the fireworks?
They had quite a chunk of money allotted for the fireworks, if we just do ground ones, they should not come anywhere near that. Until we figure out exactly what it would be. We would not have any intention of taking that entire chunk that they had already allotted. I'll have to price them and figure out pricing wise to put a proposal together. But it's definitely not going to be the amount that they actually had allotted for a fireworks show.
The personal opinion is having a concert and or fireworks would be better than having everyone just kind of disperse and go out on their own and drink and have fireworks and, you know, do their own stuff. If we do come together as a community, it would be better to have something like that, where if it doesn't reach the full amount of what we had already allotted for the fireworks, then I'm all for, you know, putting
Yeah.
some of that towards a band or something to go into a little bit later in the night.
So there's another community planning committee that they haven't been able to work together that has another proposal.
Okay.
So it's kind of a problem because we're not trying to promote competitiveness among
We are not
community.
trying to compete.
And Tammy's just withdrawing at this time. That's why she doesn't want to.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the other, you know, if it's something.
Yeah.
And the main reason we proposed this is, the last communication we had at the last meeting, it was kind of inferred that they would still do the street dance on the 3rd. And then other things were going on at Vega, like on the 5th and over the weekend. So we were kind of looking at the board saying, you know, this should not compete with anybody else.
Okay.
If something else. is
So
going on
you're
that
wanting
I'm
a street
aware of,
dance. So they want a street dance on the 3rd?
I
You
don't know
guys-
what their plan
Oh,
is now.
okay.
I do not, that was the last communication I had,
Okay.
so I do not know what their plan.
well, as far as the fireworks, I think it would be safer and it would definitely be more financially feasible to do it on the ground. It's since we can't get a contractor that, you know, is bonded and insured to do them up in the sky. You know, something we can certainly work for next year and plan for between now and then. But, I mean, that's just my perspective that it would be.
If it's something you would like to consider sponsoring, we will certainly put together a proposal. I have a couple of different band proposals, different prices. I did not do that tonight because I have not had the opportunity to put it together in your packet ahead of time. So if you would like me to do that, please direct me to do so, and I will absolutely do that. It's good. We'll take a little investigation on my part as to what we can put off in the arena. I'll have to ask some experts because I'm not me.
And your insurance.
And our insurance, and make sure that we're all there.
I certainly would be interested in a proposal for that since the community's been asking for it for years. Penny, yeah.
Well, I just wondered about parking. There's not that much parking over there. So you're planning this big event, where's everybody gonna park, and especially if the rodeo people stay there with their trucks and trailers, where's everybody gonna park?
Most of those people are already gonna be there. So then we can look at maybe running a shuttle or something if we need to. We have talked about maybe doing that in the past if we needed to. We've never really needed to because it's within walking distance of the town, but should it look like we need to, the committee will be open to looking at whatever.
That would
we
be
need
my
to
big
do.
question. There's no parking open.
Not once all those people are already there, most people are already there, and I'm assuming the majority of them will stay. A lot of the rodeo contestants will leave, because they're gonna headed to different, they're headed to Meeker, they're headed to Wyoming, they're headed to, I don't know where on the fifth. So a lot of those people compete and they will be out of there. So that will open up some spaces in the back. It's amazing how fast this contestants leave. They're here for their 10 seconds, their 8 seconds, their time to run the barrels or rope or whatever, and they leave because they're headed to someplace else. 4th of July weekend is what we call Cowboy Christmas, in July. Because there are so many rodeos they need to hit. Most of these people are hitting 5, 6, 7 rodeos within that 3 or 4 day span. So they usually don't, you'll have a handful that will stay over there and stick around. But the majority of them will probably go because there are a lot of weekend rodeos. Okay, what that will do over there, I couldn't tell you today, I have no idea, but I do know a lot of them will be. Because they're headed someplace else on the 5th and someplace else on the 6th. Okay. But we could maybe run a shuttle or something. Something to think about. For sure, absolutely. And we have talked about that before. It's just never become a big enough issue to try to run a shuttle.
But you have never done this over.
We have done it.
Certain.
We have never done the fireworks. We haven't done the fireworks. Right, we've never done any fireworks. We have done the concert. And it didn't end up being an issue. It was discussed, but it never became an issue at that time. We did the concerts. I think we did them 2 years in a row. Again, on the weekend, 4th of July, get like a Friday and then Saturday. There's really no point in them in the regular week. But good idea, for sure. Thank you.
I know since we've been up here, there's always been kind of a band in the street dance with,
Right, and it's always been on the
street.
third for years and years. I don't know what this committee's plan is, so if that's something different, we'll certainly. We are not trying to take away from anything on Main Street whatsoever. We are just pulling ourselves away from that.
And
And the drama that seems to be going with it, so we're just stepping with.
I understand that one of the churches is gonna sponsor and take care of the entertainment for the kids.
It's my understanding Molina Baptist is going to do that again, like they have done the last couple of years.
So the Molina Baptist is part of the community. committee.
It's gonna have to go
Like
with-
separate, okay,
It's gonna have to go with this one Main Street committee or whatever they'll have to do.
or do their own,
And I don't know if they are insured or not. I don't know how that's been covered the last several years.
okay,
We have not insured any of the Main Street events. The only thing we, as the rodeo committee, have insured is the running of the horses because we're responsible. for that. Any of the other Main Street events that have happened have been insured either, I guess, through the town or I don't know. We have not insured it. We have only insured all the rodeo stuff, all those events.
Okay.
So whatever has happened in terms of privy to that.
I motion that we approve the town of Collbran street closure request for 4 p.m. on July 3rd and July 4th for the running of the horses.
I will second that. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, may we have a vote, please?
Trustee Sally,
Yes.
trustee Bethel,
Yeah.
trustee Winkleblack,
Yes.
trustee Price,
Yes,
Mayor Wilcox.
Yes,
Anything passes unanimous.
okay.
does your event get over late on the 3rd?
No, we're usually done by 9:30 at the latest. Just kind of depends on how many contestants we end up having. But we tried really hard to be done no later than 9:30, so.
Would it be too much to do a street dance on, or a dance for and a band on the 3rd so that we don't have 2 community people having a band on the same night in different locations? Is that a lot?
Um, that would be harder on us because we have to go up right early on the fourth to get everything accomplished on the fourth. They'll be more difficult on the committee. I think committee would probably prefer, if we're going to do it at all, that we do it. If if the Main Street Committee has a different plan, we can certainly not do ours. But, the last, we presented it because the last I heard it was either the third or the fifth is what they had talked about, and I have not heard otherwise, so that's why we had said. I don't think I can convince my committee to stay there and do that the night of the third, and then be back at the arena before 8 o'clock on the fourth.
That's understandable.
And do all the events all day long till midnight on. I don't think I can convince them to do that. There's not enough of us, and some of us are getting old.
After that,
It was fun 20 years ago, now it's more like work.
yeah,
So at this point, would you like me to consider putting together a proposal, or would you like me to just wait and hear from you, and you will get back to me?
I mean, I personally would like to hear a proposal, especially for the fireworks. I mean, it's been requested for years and years, but like you say, it needs to be. People with the animals need to be, notified and so.
Oh, sure, absolutely, we would not do that.
Okay,
And if we did anything like that, it would be like a ground level stuff.
right. Yeah, find out what's
Within the dirt of the arena.
right. Which I think would be less of a fire hazard.
Yeah, and we used to, when they put them off at Terrell, we shut all the lights off. Blasted patriotic music and because you could see them from the arena, some of them. And so
Right.
we would do a similar type thing. Just with a ground show, if we did something like that, and. It's just a vision at this point, until we get some more information, if that's something that. You'd like to see us pursue, we certainly can.
Well, I would appreciate it. I don't know.
I think the community would appreciate it. I really do.
Let me ask you this, even if the town doesn't sponsor you to help with a band, are you gonna pursue a band and put on that yourself?
Well, possibly, it will depend on how our budget is. Our stock contractor went up quite a bit. We've not got our insurance quote yet, and we did add quite a bit of added money, so we could bring in more of the rough stock riders. So we're hoping to attract more of the saddle bronc, the bull riders, the events everyone likes. Because we've been pretty low on those, there just aren't that many in the state, and so we did add some additional money to that, so we'll have to look at our budget and continue, if we can find a sponsor. And it's not something you want to do and the committee wants to continue, we find a sponsor, we probably will. Unless it's gonna conflict, if it's gonna conflict in the community, then we won't do it, because that's not our goal. Contrary to some of whatever's been going on Main Street, that's not our goal at all. Our goal is to create something for the community as a whole, so if it's gonna conflict, we won't.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else for me?
No, I appreciate your patience in explaining things.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So my understanding is you want me to put together a proposal for the next meeting in May, the first of May? Or whenever that May meeting is.
Yes,
So is that the directive from the board I'm getting? Once you hear from the other committee, or do you want to just let me know? Just tell me tonight.
what's your thoughts,
What's
Bill?
the directive here?
I put something together, so we got more, 4th of July is coming up, but we still have to hear from all the people and. See what they have to say, and, because if there's a party down here and there's a party up there, that's a lot of walking back. Not walking back. So.
Well, and we
Do you
are
have
not,
some?
like I said, our goal is not to conflict.
Do you have
So
any-
if that's something that's gonna happen here, then we probably will
not pursue that.
Might as
We
well.
don't want to conflict with anyone.
I would say put something together, something here. I don't know if we could hear what they have to say and see what we can do.
We'll do that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay. Item number 11, 4th of July Main Street Activities Committee, presenters Brandy Northby and Edward Environmental. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, we're far more simple. We get that from the street for the demands. Activities are by Lena at the church, which is gonna happen during the day. So all we put together is a street closure for a day. We set up right there in the first.
And there was, I see something for.
This one's.
Oh, the second, well. Yeah.
Should be one more, there we go. So I do have a question, I had a citizen tell me that the big trucks and the trailers can't make the turn from Nancy Courier's corner, I don't know my street, Branch Street, and clear the bridge. And that's why they have never included High Street, so we need to get some input from CDOT or the sheriff, or do you have input? Did you look at this?
I do not have.
Well, right. So,
Liberty is basically, I'm way up for towns, so that we don't get that.
right. So what's that? Yeah, we have to find out.
The Ritz, and they're probably gonna be done with their, in May.
The who?
The big rigs that are doing the traveling back.
Right.
with them.
Right,
So I talked to them, that even if they are still running, they will be, more than happy to stop running for those hours. So have to be that, and then we can also speak with Noel, sometimes they'll stop their running as well for a few months.
And that's primarily like for Laramie and.
Yeah.
So
So I-
you probably
yeah,
got contacts with Laramie and.
Stuff, yeah. So we've already spoken with them to see if they can work with us to stop at a few hours.
gotcha.
My big trailers can't pull out of here.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems. You have a 350 or 450 and they're leaving that night. They're stuck here until midnight.
We're not doing anything until 6.
Oh, yeah, after the rodeo events. Yeah. So, I've seen a lot of trucks and trailers going through the detour, and I don't know that they can make the other detour. Melanie, you have a 1-ton and a 40-foot trailer.
I can do it. But the question I was coming through into town, out of the way, I mean, just driving the truck, but that. You have to stop right there, and if you have a load behind you, 2,000-ton. Pound trailer, it's. Feel out just getting up the hill in the truck.
You mean to come across the bridge and then down Main Street?
Either way, going up, especially. I mean,
Oh, you lose your momentum.
oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of gravity up right there on that slope.
Even though it's.
And that's why it's always done through town that way, because that corner is just too tight. And then you got the people coming down the hill that don't stop, because there's no stop sign.
Oh,
And trying to get that momentum picking up to get up over the bridge, and then someone flying down the hill, they do a lot. You know, you're looking at an accident waiting to happen, I think. But I'm just.
That's why That's why we've never closed High Street, because trucks cannot go and turn off of Branch Street onto the bridge. It just can't be done. If you look at the trucks that came through town today, those trucks are going all times of the day. And that's why High Street has never been closed in the past, because those trucks need to be able to go up, hang a left, and then come back over by the pizza place, because they can negotiate that turn, but they can't do it from the other side. They can't do it from Branch Street. They can't make that turn.
So they
And that's
can,
why High Street has never been closed.
so the bridge to Spring Street up on Spring Street, Plateau and around the auditorium to High Street and then down on the highway.
Correct. Right. And that's why it's always been closed historically. And I would not suggest we make any changes, because we have an awful lot of vehicles that are coming from the wells that are being
Yeah,
drilled up on 330. Saw a bunch of them today, and they are moving at night as well. I just don't think it's a good idea to close High Street.
well, safety is first for sure.
The big water trucks that are out Buzzard Creek Road all day long, hauling off the liquid from the wells up there. I can even see them making that turn, because they have a heavy load and they're making that coming around, making that turn. I just don't. I'm not a truck driver, but I'm doing a lot of.
So they come right in front of your.
I see
place.
where you're coming from, Brandy, because it would be nice for you to have the frontage for your business.
Oh, not even that's mine, we're looking at it. I'm trying to, I want to.
Yeah,
So if we maintain the openness of High Street, just put the trailer across on Main Street where it intersects.
Yes, at the, right,
Right.
yeah, which is what I remember in the past, is having a trailer and a band on the end of Main Street, so that High Street was left open and.
And then on your document, you take that barrier that's on Main Street and the intersect Spring.
Yeah,
Yeah, and well.
we're talking about Cambridge.
Yeah.
that's what I remember as
That's what it's
barriers.
Right here, the
Uh-huh.
van.
Right there on the end. So that,
See, because then they can go up to Plateau Avenue, they come back on Spring. And then they can
Yeah,
go.
well, there's even pipe right there on Spring and Plateau. I mean, that's my house. I watch. So I know how tight that is. But you gotta think too, they're gonna have to move that dumpster. That's right on the side of gas. They're gonna have to move that dumpster if it's still up. That's on the side of Donna's Hall,
Yeah.
because that's taking up a whole lane weekend.
Yeah, the construction was on work, they on, got there.
Carla's not online.
So as far as the drill rig, they're coming down probably this week. They're done with it up there. So all the big trucks here on the budget, they have to be done.
The rodeo people are gonna have a
Yeah.
hard time.
The rodeo, the trucks collecting the water from the wells that are already drilled. Right away, yeah. So that would be my
Well, it's easy to
suggestion.
change.
So we'd have to
Can't
put,
prove it.
I don't know if they can put that dumpster in the alley behind the auditorium.
I don't know, because the alley is being used so much because of the bunkhouse and stuff, I don't know if that's gonna be something.
They've had some guy pulls his truck in there every day. I watch it when I go for lunch. They can move that dumpster inside that little area for a day.
Right there on the other side by the bank.
Oh, inside where it's already gated off.
On the other side.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
But because of insurance, we were gonna have you send us. Her number, so we can contact her. Yes. But that's why we don't. You know, that's why we don't have everything, because we've been waiting for response about insurance. Alpine Inn has bailed, they no longer want to be a part of the committee. Brittany hasn't been really coming forth with that either. Monica doesn't do anything on the 4th of July because she has family events. So it really doesn't leave much. So that's there's nobody else wanting to run with it, so. That's why we're kind of running it.
Do something for the community, and if we have to change the street closure, I can get that back to you tomorrow.
That's fine. I have a question about this. Would it be, would the dance committee be willing to, or I'd be interested to know why they decided to change it from the 3rd to the 4th, and would you be willing to have it on the 3rd so that the rodeo could do an additional event on 4th?
Our reasoning for having on the 4th is because Saturday's holiday. And it's on a Friday, people will be off. Thursday, they're probably still working. So then they have to rush home, rush to the dance.
The community and the participants have a strong inclination of no change, and there's always been a street dance on the 3rd, so. Mhm.
So I will get back to you with a road closure. Showing where we're gonna have it at, moving it down. It's gonna lengthen it down Spring Street. Still leave it closure, of course, at Short Street. There's no traffic from that one.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a bank that we already have. Just waiting for.
On the beer garden proposal,
That's not us.
that's not you.
Nope.
Nobody was, so my license, my liquor license, fireworks stuff, I have to be a continuous
You can TVS on her.
on my property, so
Right.
I would not be able to put
Right.
anything on Main Street myself.
Okay. Couldn't have anything with alcohol.
Yeah, we're not, we're just want the dance, if anybody wants to go into the cafe, we want them to do that. And then we want them to prepare, and then we want them to go to Terry, we're not promoting alcohol of any kind to be out. We just want, and Brittany doesn't want the beer garden, she doesn't want to deal with the expenditure of her license either. So she's really not a fan of the beer garden, I do know that part. And
So you're saying Brittany, you've spoken with Brittany and she doesn't want to do the beer garden again?
But yeah, we asked her 4 or 5 times and she said, as long as I don't care what you do, just don't include it to be more expensive for me.
Because I mean, I think that was a good solution from the standpoint, I do not support the idea of open containers on the streets.
Right.
I think that the current environment is very family friendly and child friendly. And the idea, I think, of people drinking out on the streets, I think it should be contained within your establishment or within the
That's what
cafe
we're
as
promoting
well.
well.
Yeah.
Putting a garden now.
Yeah.
That's what we're promoting as well. We want the gardens.
Because that was one of the things I kind of saw about the beer garden, because, but like you said, it has to be contiguous to your
Yeah.
property.
I mean, I could use, if I could put it another couple of tables right there in the grass, I can extend my liquor license to there, but that's it. I can extend my license to the street, but that's it. I can't go to Main Street regardless.
Right.
So,
Right, so you're talking the sidewalk and this little park right here.
right, but I don't need to do that. They can just come in and sit on my patio. And they can hear everything from the patio. So that's, I wasn't hurt last year. It doesn't bother me this year. We're just trying to become. Well,
Part of-
we're just
yeah.
trying, yeah, we're
Yeah.
just trying.
It would be nice if you could be included in that
Well,
street closure.
Well, you know, I get it. I bought the building, I get it. So. We just trying to do. You know, more togetherness.
Mhm.
We weren't a fan of the fencing, we didn't want the fencing, but we did want barriers and we did want
Yeah, for compliance.
all the things that are supposed to be had, we just didn't want the fence. That's all.
I believe the town still has the barriers, we normally had. put up
Well, we'll
with
take
that.
care.
Yeah, we got the.
We don't have to have barriers because there's no alcohol.
Fair, but we still have,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, just to detour the traffic, yeah.
so. We're still promoting family friendly, all of this stuff.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So was it your intention to schedule the band
Um,
on the fourth, a band?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Reason I ask is, you know, recently at Talbot, you know, down in Palisade, we went there several times and they had the band. Well, you were there one time. When we were there. There are some good local bands and I think play the kind of music that's appealing to this culture.
I think so.
Yeah, and probably affordable. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's money, yes.
Feed the dog.
Yeah. Well, if you give her a treat, she'll say thank you.
One of the bands over there, Feed the Dog. And I thought it was an organization on the pro animals, so I bought a cover for, I bought a shirt for Denise. And then I found out it's the name of the band.
Anything else you want to change, add?
Do you want to extend your street closure
No, at all.
since it's, yeah, but on the other side to give more room or no?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Not even open that day, like, he doesn't. Yeah.
So across from the motel, there's one
Yeah.
the lumber yard and then,
Previous.
Short Street and did you mentioned something in the alley behind?
You mind that something resident to back up with, for action.
Yeah.
You-
We just do it normal and put there and then, you know, we planned on putting out some cornhole and some family games for the family to play with and stuff during that time.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. That's.
Okay.
We were trying to do that and. From here to them, the party that said that they, the public posted, they backed out, so. I think we just decided to do that at a later date.
Okay. All right.
So Dusty, is it okay if we just put forth a motion to approve it with the men? Okay, all right.
And we can amend that.
Right, then we don't have to bring it back to the vote next month. So,
Well, yeah, and then, so we're just improving the street.
For the rest of everything.
do you just, should we just table it then for,
As amended.
we'll just table it for the rest of the stuff, because they have to come back next month.
Any changes or additions to it?
But just on a little bit, I asked Meg Ralston to talk to Parker Ralston and see if he'll have the parade and see if you know, I'm gonna be here. And then, Kim Ralston to be the grand marshal. Grandson.
That sounds.
Who usually picks the grand marshal?
I don't know.
I thought it was the rodeo committee. Yeah, the rodeo committee's always picked the grand marshal. Their board does, so. I mean, you guys are more than welcome to work together and try to,
If, Kim is your person you'd like to put forward, I'll take it. I am asking, she said no.
okay.
Great.
Do you accept nominations?
Yes.
Okay,
So I think.
So you can forward that. Yeah, that, thank you.
Towards her, my email address. Correct.
Yeah, well, I have your first bill. Okay.
That it?
Right,
Thank you.
that's it. Thank you. Okay. Item for the board training session presented by the Department of Local Affairs and DOLA Regional Manager Dana Melvin. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. I'll send the crowd out somewhat, but. Nobody wants to hear all this exciting stuff. Yeah. Have a seat, relax.
Well, they may run for the board in the future, so this is good for them too.
That would be good. That would be good. Mayor Wilcox, trustees, thank you once again for coming back. Board, can you pull that presentation up and share. There you go. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's a very nice presentation. I can send you all copies of. We call it governing with integrity. Not a full board training. Several of you sat through the full board training, extensively more in depth, deals with a lot of other things. But this is really talking about, you guys have been through transition, you have 2 new board members. It wasn't too hard to tell this evening, there's still a lot of dissension, a lot of contentiousness around the town, not just on the board, and some things that need to happen. The good news is it's a fresh start, and you've got an opportunity with a new board to set new ground rules and move forward with integrity, collaboration, and professionalism. The question, the question, you know, as a board member, are you intend on leading? Not following, not bossing, but leading. You know, King George VI, which was Elizabeth's father back in World War II, basically. So the greatest distinction you make in life is service to others. If you came to the board intending to serve yourself or serve a particular interest other than the community, you're going to continue what you've got going on in this community and this board. Because you're a leader now, whether you like it or not. These people, the rest of the people in your community are looking to you to bring this community forward from all the issues you've had, from the recall election, from town committees that can't get along, can't work together, from not being able to get people to even volunteer to come sit on your board. That is a really, really bad sign.
That's been going on for 10 years. though.
It is a really bad sign, whether it's 10 years or today,
Yeah.
it's a bad sign.
I'm not arguing.
You all have a responsibility to set the tone for this town. This is what this training is about. You can take it, you're gonna leave it. It doesn't matter to me, it's your town. What matters to me is that I give you the information and some guidance to give you the opportunity to do that. You almost collapsed a $50 million school project because of the dissension, staff leaving, and I wasn't willing to give you a grant. You were able to salvage that. We worked with the county, through me, through the mayor, and it's super that you did that. But you can't do that every single time. You just can't. It's got to be smoother. It's got to be a collaborative process. So the objectives tonight are to understand your basic responsibilities and your role as a board member. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of depth. There's a whole 2-3 hour training we've done before that we can do, or I can do with just the 2 new board members.
Can we talk further?
Yeah.
I got the.
Yeah, please.
Let's take a 5-minute break. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
I didn't think all the people want to stay around for all of it.
Well, those are great. I appreciate it.
They don't even hear my passion and frustration. Like, not single out any one, because
Right.
it takes 5 people to work as a team.
Well, that's the way I put it. I'm one person on the board and we all have to come together collectively.
That state, that's what I thought. We lost track of here, so when the one committee was up here, I think it was on rodeo. And saying, gee, I know what do you want me to do, where do you want me to go? And there was no real guidance at the end of that.
Mhm.
You realize that?
We really don't know how to handle community committees.
So best thing to do is say, bring us back a proposal.
That's what I was trying
We
to
would
say.
like to support what you have to do, but we need some definitive things that we can talk about.
We just,
It comes
It's-
back on the next agenda
yes.
as a motion to discuss the possible action.
Mhm.
At that time, we talk through the potential proposals, modify it if you want, and then come up with a final motion.
Where we're lost is there's two different committees and we don't want to support them competing with each other. I was trying to encourage them to work together.
I get it, and then, again, I don't want to get into the details of all the decisions, but.
So that's why we were kind of lost on what to do.
Okay, so the goal is to at least understand fundamentally what your goal is as a board member today. And learn the boundary between elected officials and staff. I heard. And Angie, forgive me if you're still on. But there was an exchange between members of the board and the town manager that should not have occurred. And I'm not blaming the town manager, I'm not blaming the board. It's just,
Should I gavel that?
there's gotta be some rules.
I mean, I feel somewhat responsible for.
We're gonna talk about it tonight, and you and I have talked about it separately, and the lessons haven't changed, so we're just kind of repeating it. This one is huge, increasing stability in the board interactions. I know you were accused, and I'm not passing judgment one way or the other, using language that was kind of demeaning towards somebody. Whether you did or not is not the issue. But we don't demean people, we don't speak rudely, we don't cut them off, we don't talk over them. It is your responsibility. If a bunch of discussions going on, to say, whoa, one at a time. Respect each other's ability to express your ideas, and please listen to those ideas. So you've got to be civil in all the board interactions between yourselves, between staff, and between citizens. When they come in, you've got to respect it, but the same rules apply. You can't let citizens talk over you or talk over each other. I saw this 3-minute thing, I'm like, they listened to one thing I said. But I never saw it, very bad working. So, and the last is just a little bit of legislative quasi judicial, and we'll just touch on that because that's probably 45 minutes of the main presentation. This is the role of a board member. It's high level, right? You set policy. You determine, are we going to invest in this project or this project? Are we gonna approve certain job descriptions, not approve certain job descriptions? Are we gonna pave this street or that street? Those are policy decisions. You don't determine necessarily when you're gonna do the street, when you're gonna put a job description out or things like that. It's policy. Your other role is to approve the budget. It really kind of stops there. Policy and budget. You get to approve the budget once a year. And trustee Price, you ask questions on payments, and that's fine, because you're really looking at budget oversight. But you don't get into the day-to-day mechanics of writing checks and doing that kind of stuff. It's oversight, it's not management. Still, at the end of the day, you represent your constituents, right? I mean, people elected you, and they elected you or appointed you to do a job for the town. To the extent you feel that people elected you to do a single issue, and we'll pick something absurd. They wanted you to have fireworks and band and dance on the 4th of July for the rodeo. That's the one thing you're here for, here to do. That's the wrong reason to be on board. You're here to make the town better. And that is a huge job. Huge. Law enforcement, flood control, fire prevention in terms of wildlife-urban interface, water treatment plant, wastewater treatment, extensions, subdivisions, planning. There's a lot of stuff. None, I'm trying to remember what the pay is, we got like $75 a month or something.
I don't even know.
I don't even know, you're brand new, you're like,
It doesn't even matter.
don't even look like you know how much you get in the check. It's pittance. It's pittance. It's not even beer money, it won't pay your internet bill every month. Okay, so you really are a volunteer, but you're trying to do it on behalf of the town. Overall, your responsibility, and the three have heard this before, your primary responsibility above everything is to build trust. Build trust with each other. Build trust with this community. Build trust with staff. If you look at it at that goal, when you're making every single decision or everything you say, am I building trust? Am I hurting trust? Take the path that builds trust. It's a simple filter, a simple mirror to hold up. Just do that on everything you do for this town. And frankly, do it for everything you do in your life, because guess what? You are now 100% belonging to the citizens of Collbran. You don't have off time. You can't think, oh, I'm just gonna go chug some beers over at the cafe or shoot the BS down at the door. Everything you do, everything you say reflects on the town of Collbran. You go out and do something stupid, they're looking at that's the way Collbran is. It's not you, it's Collbran, because that's the people running Collbran. So always use that build trust. What the role is not, again, don't micromanage staff, don't make operational decisions. Don't ever act as an individual authority. You know, again, I heard from one of those committees, you know, just let me know. Who's gonna let that committee know? Nobody has the authority to let that committee or that person that was here know. Nobody. About 5 of you can let that person know. And guess when you can let them know? At an open meeting. That's it. So if they're asking, give me guidance, then you either say, come back next month and we'll give you guidance if it wasn't agendized enough. Or you say, anybody have a motion? Now be careful, and Wilson, I know you're on, so step in at any time. If there wasn't sufficient notice to the public, and what that means is, by looking at your agenda and your agenda packet, would citizens in your community have an idea that you might discuss this issue tonight? If it's not clear, yeah, they should have known, you shouldn't talk about it. Because you have a call to the public, you have an opportunity for your citizens to come and talk to you about the things that are on the agenda. But if it isn't clear, then you can't talk about it. As an example, one of the committees that came in and talked about, well, people can't make this truck the turn on this one corner. If you suddenly came up and said, you know what, I move that we spend $20,000 to re-engineer the bridge in the corner, they didn't have notice of that. They thought there was a general discussion about the 4th of July, but never something about spending or engineering or something to do with reorganizing the transportation system in town. Okay, so keep that in mind. Obviously, you don't act as an individual authority. That includes, and I'll be a little bit careful. You can always go to a member of staff and say, would it be possible for you to do something for me or to get me a piece of information? However, you need to be extremely careful of what that means to the staff. If they're thinking you're giving them direction, they're in a quagmire. They work for the administrator, not individual board members. The best way to ask for information is in a board meeting. When you come to the last part of this board meeting, there's a section for trustee comments and general discussion. Bring up your issue and say, can we put on the agenda for next month a review of our finance policies? So we know if there's going to be detail in the account pay or the revenue brought in. Great place to do it. The clerk is, or the mayor can say, please agendize that for discussion. guess what? When you come back next month, it's on the agenda. If you don't get the answers then either the clerk or the manager, whoever's responsibility was to bring that information forward, have to say what? And it's not, excuse the expression, it's not a penny match.
Right.
No, we asked you to do this, why don't you have it?
Our answer right now is schedule a private meeting. We don't want that. We want it to be an agenda item. We want it all to be in a public meeting.
But it has to be civil.
Mhm.
It's not accusatory, it's not.
Right.
And trustee Price, we've talked about this as well.
Mhm.
It can't be, I gave you a whole month to do, that's,
Right.
you know, I have two words in which I tell people to de-escalate stuff. Disarm and empower. Disarm the other person.
Mhm.
If, let's just say it's Dusty, and she didn't do something that was on the agenda.
Mhm.
She said, I didn't do it. Disarm the conflict. I understand that's an issue. I understand you're overworked. Empower them. Say, can you tell me when you can provide the board that information?
Mhm.
You've totally disarmed the situation. You've empowered them to give you the solution. And you can really hold them accountable now.
Right.
Because now you told me this is when it's gonna be.
Mhm.
So always remember that, don't act as individuals. Being very careful, and obviously don't run day-to-day functions. Staff responsibilities, they operate the day-to-day management, they implement your policy. To some degree, they have technical and legal expertise. Dusty's not a lawyer. It's not a lawyer. Angie's not a lawyer. Wilson's a lawyer. I am, but I'm not your staff. So don't rely on me. I won't give you legal advice. But they've got it. That's why you hire professionals. They understand what's going on in the world. They understand their background and their training. And they serve the burden of the whole, not individual members. Okay. Chain of command. It's really simple. Board talks to the manager, manager talks to the departments. It's one voice. The 5 of you speak as one voice, not individual directives. You have to avoid undermining colleagues and staff. And that means you don't belittle them in meetings. You don't belittle them out in the public. You don't talk bad about staff to your friends, because that's just like poison ivy. It just spreads through the town fast, and you undermine the whole confidence of the town and your system of government.
How do you hold them accountable for that? I'm just.
By setting items on the agenda and discussing it. And if they need to get into a personnel matter, you do what?
Executive session.
Executive session. Okay? Oh, all right. Okay, all right, I told you we talked about legislative and quasi judicial. Real briefly, if you think about county government, state government, federal government, Congress makes laws, right? They pass some good laws, some not so good ones. All right, you guys are the Congress of the town. You pass the laws, you pass the ordinances, you pass municipal code. That's legislative functions. On the other hand, courts hear facts from conflicting viewpoints, and they make decisions based on those facts and based on the law that's otherwise in place, right? You act as a quasi-judicial body when you have applications before you. That may be a building application, zoning application, subdivision application, licensing application, anything like that. You're now in a quasi-judicial role. Your responsibilities are a little bit different in those two. I don't know if you're going to have Sursa come in. Sursa will go into the difference in those. Pay attention. It's very important because there's very strict limitations on what you can or can't do as quasi-judicial. The legal and ethical responsibilities, open meeting laws. Biggest problem and constant violation in open meeting law that will get you in trouble are serial meetings or polling. And that happens when you're like, hey, you know, I kind of like this, but I don't know how trustee Price feels. I'm gonna give her a call. And you and trustee Price, you can talk to trustee Price about something, right? One-on-one, you can have those conversations. But then you're like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. I think I'll talk to trustee Winterback, see what his perspective is. You've now held a meeting.
Right, that's illegal.
All three of you haven't been in the same place, but you held a meeting. It's called a serial meeting or polling. One of the quickest ways to violate it, and everybody's gonna know, is when you reply all to emails that have something to do with real substantive business. Now, the email goes out and it says, hey, the Christmas party is on this date, who's gonna attend? Reply all, that's conducting business. But if it goes out and it says, you know, you wanted information on this, I think this is what it is, what do you think? And you start replying all, you just violated open meetings, because you corresponded with everybody else on the board. So be very careful about hitting the reply all button.
And text
Under-
messages.
Under town, and text messages, everything with strings. I won't get a whole lot more into open meeting laws. Sorcerer will come and do that if we ever do the really extended training, which I hope we don't have to do for a while. So the board's going to be stable and behave well. Confidentiality, you have a responsibility. There's things that go in on executive session. Guess what? You can't talk about it. You cannot talk about what happens in executive session. Period. Okay. Conflict of interest. You know, the simplest one, your spouse applies for a business license, you got a conflict of interest. It gets a little grayer and fuzzier there. Wilson, whenever you have a doubt, a conflict of interest issue, talk to Wilson, talk to your town administrator, okay, and talk to the mayor. Your fiduciary duty, above all, you're the guardians of the public trust. Now, I mean, different kind of trust, the money trust. They give the town money. Well, you are the town. And they say, here's my money, spend it wisely. You have a responsibility to do that, to answer to them for that. I know somebody asserted you had issues with excessive spending, this and the other thing. If you're concerned, ask the question. Ask them nicely, ask them civilly, and you get the answer.
In a private meeting.
I think that some of the citizens, what they're doing is getting on the town website and seeing the budget and some of the expenditures. And then then they're getting their perspective, so that's why they're asking questions. And part of the situation that we know can't happen is like the mayor being an employee at the same time.
Yeah.
Or another board member working another position for the town.
It's not good, and I know there was talk during the interim when there was a lack of staff, but I'll come in and volunteer.
No, she wanted to go on the clock to work here as a board member.
Either one of those starts to get a little dicey, so.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So civility in action, what does it mean? It means you listen as intently as you speak. Oh, I didn't put it on there. Okay, this one. Listen to hear and understand. How many of you, everybody married? How many of you, your spouse starts talking to you and about 10 seconds in, you're ready to say, no, that's not right, because you're ready to shut them down and tell them something else, right? It's natural human nature, it's behavior, it's what we do. We just want to respond. We just want to cut the conversation. We want to get our point across. That's not the way to listen. You listen by letting somebody go through and basically exhausting themselves or running out on the timer. And then you can ask their question, let them go. And if they're running, we're out here in left field and you ask for a fairly simple answer, your responsibility, if it's in a public meeting, cut them off, bring them back. Okay, if they go off and you're in a public, non-public meeting forum, let them go. I have a meeting I gotta get to, once you come to the meeting and address it. Okay, but listen as intently as you speak. Focus on the issues, not the individuals. I'm gonna tell you right now, trustee Winkleblack, trustee Staley, you have an opportunity for some major dissension or major healing. You had some issues. It could have hurt your feelings. I don't know. I don't know your personality type. But you've got this opportunity to not look at the person, but listen to what their issues are. Listen to what their concerns are. Doesn't matter who's saying. It could be the guy who beat you up in high school, or the guy who dumped you, or girl who dumped you. Doesn't matter. Listen to what they have to say. Don't focus on the person. Distinguish between fact and opinion. The one thing I did like, you asked for fact. You know, just give me a fact. When people come to you, they really need to bring you facts. Don't just go on opinion. We hear so much opinion in today's society, and it's worth what you pay for it. Okay, so make sure you get the facts. I like this one. Get curious instead of furious. If somebody disagrees with you, dig into it. Has anybody ever read the book Freakonomics? Yeah, Freakonomics is a great book that really says, you know, you can do anything you want really with data, but you got to look a little beyond the data. And the one example they used is everybody said the common theory was that the reduction in crime in the late 70s, early 80s was because of the war. And they came up with another alternative solution. It was because of Roe versus Wade. Right. You know, what? Well, when they legalized abortions, in theory, unwanted children weren't born. Unwanted children tend to grow up in dysfunctional households, tend to commit more crime. There were less of them, there were less crime. Interesting. You can take that curiosity and apply it to facts that people try to present to you. Really dig in. Don't be afraid to dig in. Okay? Be curious. But acknowledge knowledge. Somebody comes in, you know, and says, hey, this is what I know. Acknowledge it. Okay, that's the fact. Don't try to, you know, alternative facts. Right? There's no alternative facts. There's facts. There may be two different sets of facts, but they're both facts. Okay? Own your own intentions. We talked about why we're here. Own the impact of your actions. Understand that when you talk to somebody in a certain way, it affects them in a certain way. When you have an interaction with a fellow board member in a certain way, these folks draw a certain impression of not just you and not just the person you're talking to, but of the community. Above all, try to seek common ground. You know, we're so polarized as a nation, even as a state, that we just don't get stuff done. Nothing happens. Right? We're just treading water. And you tread water long enough, you drown. My favorite saying, you can attribute this to me, and maybe somebody else said it, is when you sit on the fence too long, all you get is splint in your ass. Okay, you've got to make decisions. The way to do that, everything you deal with, honestly, has a bell curve in terms of people's opinions, what people want. Look at abortion, and then hot topics are. There's people who say absolutely under any circumstances. There's people who say absolutely never under any circumstances. And then somewhere in between there's people who think, oh, yeah, there's circumstances. If you focus on the middle of that bell curve, you're serving your community, your issues. If you're focusing on the extremes, you're not serving your community. You're ignoring everybody else on the curve. Be a role model. It hit me when I heard nobody wants to sign up. Who was it that said, I think you said, you went out and there was like, come on, I'm part of that.
I did, I canvassed, I asked other people to read the board.
He's back here. And what's your name? David is in the back, and you just think, you know, this should be run better. I said, why didn't you run? And the reality is, it's the same reason people like Condoleezza Rice, the gentleman who worked.
Yeah, I don't know who you're-
Colin Powell,
Yeah,
didn't run. They don't want to be part of dysfunctionality. They don't want to come under the people yelling at them in the grocery store and doing this stuff if they can avoid it. That's what happens when you're dysfunctional. People don't want to be a part of that. And perhaps the worst part is it's here somewhere. People don't want to be a part of your town.
yeah,
They don't want to invest. They don't want to come to the rodeo. They don't want to volunteer. And they figured you can't cooperate, you can't collaborate, why should they?
we've had this discussion about the development, you know, all I want to do is improve the town and help the town grow, and I mean, their intentions are great, and they've been slowed down and kind of ignored, to be quite frank.
And then it'll go away.
Right,
Then you lose your tax base, you lose your opportunity to make the town better for everybody. Obviously civility and encourage an open dialogue. You want people to come talk to you. You don't want people to think, I'm not gonna go talk to them because I'm just gonna get humiliated. Somebody's gonna badger me. I don't want to do it. You're civil, they'll engage and provide you more information. We talked about preventing dysfunction, building trust. You're gonna attract better staff and better engagement. And increase productivity, you know what? The happy spouse, happy house.
yeah,
Happy family, happy family.
I guess that's why, even though I'm the mayor, I have mayoral duties, and I appreciate it when the staff points out that I have mayoral duties. I say, if you need me, you know where I'm at, because they need to let me know what I need to do, but I don't want to take up too much of their time because they're too busy running the gears of the town.
Should board members hang out at town hall for 2-4 hours a day with the staff? Is that normal?
Not really. Not really. For what? But working,
We don't know.
micromanaging their job. Telling them how to do their job, looking over their shoulders, that's, no.
I don't know.
Tell them what they need to do, and walk away. So it's up to them to get it done. So how can you do a better job of civil engagement? Stick to the agenda. When people start to go off in the left field, and I think Dave said at one point, I think it was when we were talking about whether to approve you or not. I don't know what we're talking about. It was off the charts. You gotta stick to the agenda. Remember, if you start talking about stuff that's off the agenda, you're violating open meeting. Okay? If no other reason, that's what you can say.
Would be my, at that point, if he is not realizing it, to kind of be like,
Totally,
do I have a role in that?
I totally appropriate role for the clerk. To just be quietly singing, not to stand up and say, Mayor, that's all. Now, the lawyer, Wilson may do that to you. And it's absolutely his position, because
I appreciate it, to be quite honest.
I know somebody says, I would spend too much money on lawyers. I tell you what, better to spend it to prevent lawsuits than to defend lawsuits. And you guys, quite frankly, when you operate, there's some liability for open meeting violations if you don't listen to the lawyer and do things. Use respectful language, always address concerns, behavior with tone, communications privately. So if trustee Winkle-Black is saying something, you know, like, don't get in this across the board, don't get in it with staff. And if Angie's still on, you know, we'll talk about that later too. It shouldn't go the other way either. Shouldn't happen. You give staff direction. This doesn't turn into an argument with staff.
No, I asked for direction from staff because, you know, this is all new to me as far as things change, and it's been 30 years.
Yeah. Avoid public shaming. You know, we don't call people names. Avoid the grandstanding. You know, I've got my podium I want to stand on, bang. We talked about the behavior of elected place on the town, regardless of where you are, and recognize the positive and negative impact of staff. Remember, your meetings are recorded, and anybody can look at them. When you go to recruit professional staff, not unprofessional staff, I don't mean people who don't. Professional staff means somebody who's got experience and training in the job you're hiring them to do. If they're good, they're gonna look at your old meetings. And they're gonna see, how does this board behave? And do I want to take a position, have to face that every month or twice a month, or to hear about people coming in, looking over my shoulder and standing around, examining my work before I go there. All right, so, the obstacles. You guys may not see yourselves as members of the same team, right? Right now, we got old board members and new board members. Really easy to see yourself, we're on this team, and they're on another team. And you're all on the same team. You're all on Team Collbran. You've got to stay focused, okay? It can be difficult moving on after contentious vote. Okay, you had a 3-1 vote to seat you tonight. It can be difficult to move on from that, but you got it. Once the board makes a decision, you must support that decision. It's your decision, your board.
The decision's made, so let it go and move forward.
And support it. All right, and support it. Stay away from agendas, personal agendas or town agenda, up versus them mentality. Whatever the issue is, it always seems like there's us versus them. There's us versus them. That tonight between these two groups, we're on a whole dance. This night we're on a whole dance. That night, nothing gets done, right? Nothing that really benefits the town. And the all or nothing to it. If you come in thinking I have to have my way or nothing, probably nothing's gonna happen. If you come in looking to do something that's best for the town and maybe incorporate some of your ideas and talk through it, you'll get things done. So scenario, a board member scolded a staffer during a meeting. What do you do, Trustee Bright?
Ask a lot of questions.
No, if the board member scolds a staff
Mm.
in a public meeting.
I did ask her tonight to bring it to a private, to a hearing if she wanted to scold me or spank me in order to move on.
Mayor, what do you do?
Well, you shouldn't scold a staff member in a public meeting or.
Trustee Taylor, okay.
We should he should interject it. And said that this is not on the agenda.
This is not on the
This is
agenda.
not time to fight with this. If, with this needs to be discussed, let's set it up for time to discuss it.
I kept hearing Norman, who's Norman? Code of conduct. Right, that's what I heard, or code of conduct rules, we're gonna touch on that. You need a code of conduct. And it needs to be adopted in a resolution, print it up on a big sign.
It is, and I appreciate Melanie bringing it. They put, this is from before us, you know.
We're gonna get into some more examples, so we'll skip that. A board member tells the department to take action without a board approval, okay or not okay?
Good. Okay.
Not okay. Okay. A citizen in the audience starts asking somebody questions. Okay, not okay. Not okay. You have a call to the public. If you want to add a second call to the public after each agenda item or each agenda item, knock yourself out. But audience members don't get to interrupt the board or an applicant who's speaking.
So in the last meeting, that's why I said, if there's something you have beyond the 3 minutes, then you need to come to staff and ask to be put on the agenda. So that the board can discuss it so it can take as much time as you need.
That's perfect. If they have a question on something that was discussed, you can always have another call to the public at the end of the meeting if you want. I don't know if people stay around or not. That's up to you. It's your rules. You get to set the agenda. They don't get to interrupt people. You are the ones that govern. You are the ones that ask questions. Okay? A citizen approached you at the store and wants to talk about a proposed subdivision. Okay? Why not?
Because, I think it would be my place to do that.
That's
fine, I want to see.
Quasi judicial.
It's quasi judicial. At some point, that application is gonna come before you as the deciding board. And you're gonna hear. Go ahead. If they do that, and you just simply direct them to town staff so that they can get it on the agenda. Perfect.
Right.
I mean, that's. You know, and a typical type of question I will get when I do this scenario is, well, what if there's not a pending application? What if there's been a filing or something? Can you talk to the person?
Bring it up to the board.
It's still got the discussion has to be. Squishy.
Down in the county, have them go talk to the county.
You're talking county, you can, if somebody just comes up and says, are we ever gonna have any more subdivisions in town? Can you talk about that?
Sure.
Sure you can. If somebody comes to you and says, I really like Collbran, would you entertain me trying to buy a piece of land and create a subdivision annexed into town? Can you talk to them?
No, they'd have to come to the board.
Yes, you can talk. You can say, you know what, town's always interested in growth, but you'll have to come to the board with it. So, yeah, sure, we'd be interested, but bring it to the board. Somebody comes to you and says, I bought this 40-acre parcel. And I'm thinking of dividing it into 20 separate parcels and building a little subdivision. Can you talk to them? Now, it's definitive enough that I would say, you need to go talk to Steve. Don't even, not another word to them. As soon as it looks like they really have a plan, no application or not, no, don't talk to them. Okay? Okay, you know that an applicant for a building permit cheated on exams in high school, and they shouldn't be trusted. What do?
Forget it.
You're gonna forget that they cheated on exams in high school?
Sure.
Steve, what do you think?
If high school was a long time ago, so I don't remember too much of it.
So remember the rule of focus on issues and not individuals. Doesn't matter who they were. Now, that may change if it's a liquor license. And they're coming to you and saying, well, here's all the reasons you shouldn't give them a liquor license. But if it's just a building permit, it's just a building person. Focus on the issues, not the person, and don't be spreading rumors. Oh, well, that person cheated in high school. I don't think we can believe anything. Yeah, but. And some of us is longer than others. So let me ask you, what if anything? I hate to use the word murder because you know this stuff. Intrinsically, naturally, you know this stuff. But somehow we lose it. We get elected. And think, I gotta push for this particular agenda item. Anything from this help? Just about.
This is, I've sat for one of these before with you, what if I can't really, I work at the clinic, so I see a lot of people and talk with a lot of people and joke around with people. But that's just what I do, I try to always be nice to everybody and I never talk about clinic stuff because, well, that's HIPAA and I can't talk about that kind of stuff. So this not talking about stuff is gonna be fine with me. That's what I've learned. It's gonna be pretty easy.
Well, I'm already.
It's because this is stuff that intrinsically, just somehow biologically, instinctively, we know this stuff. It's easy to just let it float away. I encourage you to remember just a few of the critical things. In fact, the most important thing to remember, build trust. That is the most important thing.
Nice.
Being nice builds trust. Ultimately, if everything you do is driven by building trust, you're going to do the right things. Okay. So think about what can you do to make the meetings more civil?
Request for agenda items to be added to the future agenda.
And respect others' perspectives. And so, I didn't think of it that way, or I appreciate your, like you say, tone speaks a lot, whether it's body language or whether you get loud.
Only 30% of communication is verbal. All the rest is, crossing your arms, texting, looking up at the sky, rolling your eyes. That all sends signals. So it's really
ever look at it.
It's just, I don't know, please don't all this.
That's what I hate his name.
But the reality is that you stay focused on the speaker and respect the speaker, let them finish, don't interrupt, don't speak over them. You're gonna be a lot better than you. What's one commitment you can make, Eric, to make meetings more civil?
Be courteous to the staff members and trustees and community.
Okay, so remember, this is recorded, so they're all gonna come back and we'll hold you accountable to the.
A lot of it, being courteous, listening. Like that, listen to what people are saying. That's a lot.
Mayor?
Well, I agree, it doesn't do any good to start a fire, and that's, feed the rumor mill, unless it's if there's something recorded, if there's something video, whatever, it still needs to go to an agenda or staff to go to executive session or have law enforcement handle it. It's not for me to make a decision or to say, this is what happened.
Trustee Price? One commitment.
I will ask for items to be added to the next agenda. And ask for that request to be recorded in the minutes also.
Okay.
And honored.
Clear motions, right? Motion to have this specific thing.
I am trying to do clear emotions.
Good. Trustee Wiggleback, one thing.
Well, wait, make one commitment you'll make. I've made mine. I ran for this position, I'm on this position. And my commitment is I'll remain true to my values, things I believe in, I'll do the best I can, be a team member, that I will not falter from what I believe to be true, what I think is what this town needs from me. So, I'll try to be a team player, but true to myself. I can't be true to myself, and I can't be true to anybody else with my convictions.
Okay, Trustee Bethel?
Well, I'm new here, so I'm just gonna come in and do my best every day. I'm here, really don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
Realize that. How did you put it? Okay. Well, it was you or Serta. Each trustee is, the five of us make up a judge, so we're supposed to be unbiased until I make that decision, and whether we have different perspectives or we don't vote the same vote. Once that vote is made, we accept it and we move forward.
Great point. So the one thing is you don't have to do it on your own. You have the opportunity to adopt that code of conduct. I see you've got one. I would tell you that Cedar Ridge, in their municipal code, has behavior standards for their board. And defines unacceptable behavior for their board members. And Coach Paonians are doing the same thing. They're really good. Make them strong, hold each other accountable to them. Strongly recommend you post that conduct on the wall, and you hold the audience just as accountable as you hold each other. At the end of the day, Mayor, you're ultimately responsible for holding people accountable to it. It's real easy for Trustee Bethel and Trustee Staley to start doing this across the way, and everybody else will be like,
I need to shut it down. Yeah, I need to be more assertive.
You're the referee, you're in charge. So you can put things in your code, put things in your executive leadership team, your manager, your clerk can help you do some of these things. Wilson, I know you don't want to spend money on an attorney, but boys, spend the money on an attorney up front to really save you in the long run.
I'm not saying it's not necessary. I'm saying that I think that overused.
Well, one thing I would recommend is that no individual trustee or board member can contact the attorney on their own. It should really be coming back, and it would be a larger decision. Otherwise, one person goes out and starts going up the legal bill for the town, and that's not.
Now I have per staff, the attorney has called me to notify me of something or whatever. So we've discussed that way, and I have contacted Sarsa just as I have called you to make sure that I'm not crossing a line.
Both Sarsa and I are free. Go pay to call it. Additional training opportunities. There are so many training opportunities now. Dusty's been to stuff. Angie's been to stuff. I would ask you right now, who's registered for CML? Great. You're gonna network with other people. You're gonna learn things in those classes, bring them back, share them with the board. I hope that you will ask for an agenda item the month after you go to that to just discuss what you learned and gained from that experience. My personal opinion on the board of 5, at least 1 or 2 people from every municipality with 5 board members should go to the Colorado Municipal League training every year. It's important.
Dana, pardon me. Hi, I'm still here.
Yes.
I did send out information about the CML conference to the board, and I'm happy to get anybody registered, and I'm more than happy to resend that out tomorrow in the morning.
Okay,
Thank you.
Use those training opportunities. They have webinars. If you ever go to the CML website, they have so much information on there. It's a great place. You should probably spend an hour or 2 a week just going through the documents and forms and all the information they have on the website. It's really useful. This is some of the stuff that is in CRIPS, and their principles of proper conduct, be dependable, patience, ethical. It's in the slide. Dusty's now got this slide on her computer, so she can take copies.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate your input.
See you next month.
All right, thank you.
So it can be that detailed. It's up to you how detailed you need to be. One of the worst things you can do is go in and create a code after there's a problem. Anticipate there's a problem based on either past experience or your experiences you hear, particularly at CML, of nightmares that other communities offer.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Then there's social media. You have a social media account?
Yeah, I don't.
It's a personal one?
Yeah.
No,
No,
no. You have a personal social media?
I don't, that's why I don't post nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
You guys have already heard it. You have no personal social media accounts. Everything now belongs to the citizens of Collbran, your constituents, anybody who can look at it, and it all reflects on the town code. Whenever you're doing something, use the front page newspaper tag or newspaper question. If you don't want it on the front page of the newspaper, you better not be writing an email. I don't care who it's to.
Whether it's an emoji or anything else.
Whatever it is, whatever it is, I don't even understand emojis, so I don't know if you try to discuss those.
There's
Colorado Governmental Immunity Act. If you haven't read it, read it. Keeps you protected from civil liability. And what you really got to pay attention to is how you lose it. It's immunity. It's a beautiful thing, but you can lose it really easily. I'm not going to get into the details on it. I think Sandlight, if he comes over, Sursa will talk about it. But once you lose it, it's gone. And every asset you have is up for grabs to a litigant. And you don't want to be that person that opens your wallet, loses your home, loses your bank account, because you did something you shouldn't have done. Final thoughts, lead with humility and strength, respect the roles of others, and tone starts with you. You set the example for this now. Be a good example. Honestly, I'm tired of coming up and hearing things going the way I hear them. It gets old. It doesn't give it, back to the school project. You're losing staff, and I see a lot of dissension in town. I'm not gonna give you money.
Well, and the school superintendent, he has called me, which I have called staff. And, you know, that's why it was on the agenda, because they were in a panic and staff got it on the, you know, we had a special meeting and we took care of it and it's moving forward.
Got it done for you. But if the behavior just continues, that kind of support from the state stops. We have literally divorced community. We said, we're done. And walked away, and you get no state support. That's not a good position to be in. Please act like a good governing board. Treat your staff, treat your citizens, treat each other with civility. You do that, and you can be phenomenally successful and know it. Okay? Any questions? Comments? Hope to never hear from you again.
Can I make a comment?
Mayor's meeting.
Go ahead.
From what I've seen in being in business with the phone company and management, I would really like to see some training on how to deal with difficult people, how to use an irate customer, pluralism training, EEO training, code of conduct training, and I'd like to see them be held accountable where they're covered on it yearly and signed and dated.
So that's up to you guys.
The
What you
more
want to
you
do.
know, the better you are as a person.
Want to thank you for your time. We got through that pretty quickly. Only an hour with last training, we went 3 hours.
Thank you for coming, Dana. It's always a
I'm
pleasure.
here to help.
I know you are.
You know, I get the truth.
I know.
Okay, it's not always something you like to hear, but you're gonna get the truth.
I do like your speech. If you could share it, if you're gonna work in this office or be on the board, you better have tough skin. You didn't include that this time.
You should have tough skin, but not a sharp tongue.
Mhm.
And if nobody has sharp tongues, you don't need as tough as skin.
Well, still, even community members coming in and asking questions and this and that
If
shouldn't be
you,
hurting feelings.
but if you set the tone as a board
Mhm.
as to how we should treat each other,
Mhm.
that's how the community starts to act.
Got to get my assistance on it.
So. I need assistance.
Need some backup.
All right, thank you. Trustee Bethel, trustee Staley, good luck. Important job. Wish you the best. Incumbents. Keep up the work. Didn't say good work. Work. You know, respect staff, respect each other. Okay. Thank you much. Now you have executive session.
Thank you, Dana. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Amy.
Yes, it is. Yeah, item number 12. Executive session, the board of trustees may enter into.
Dana, where are you headed to tonight? Go to Denver?
No.
Oh, okay. When you going back over to Denver?
He lives in Junction.
Oh, you live in Denver?
Yep.
Oh, you're on the right side of the mountain.
Really?
Thank you.
Drive safe and thanks for coming
Take care. Thank you.
Also, we're gonna reverse the
12 and 13.
12 to 13, yes, executive session, Board of Trustees may enter into an executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6 -402 4B for a conference with the attorney for the purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions concerning claims by asset construction management. So
Pardon me, Dusty, would you mind sending the executive session link to us if the board does decide to go into executive session via email? Please.
So sorry there, Mr. Mayor, I couldn't tell if you were still done speaking. So the two different executive sessions that staff is recommending tonight, I understand it's late, so we can, if the board does vote to go into executive session, we can try to be as quick as possible discussing those. I don't anticipate it being a very long discussion unless there are a lot of questions. There are two separate executive sessions that staff is recommending, both of which are for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions. If you only want to discuss one topic, that's fine. And I guess the motion will depend on if you want to discuss both topics. For convenience sake, I would say if we are going to discuss both, we would do two separate, or you would have a motion for each executive session, and then we could go into executive session and we would need to split the recordings up, but then we could be clear that you're doing both sessions. And then when the sessions are done, the board would come back and adjourn, or sorry, would adjourn after the executive session. So are there any questions on kind of the purposes of those before there's a motion or a vote on that?
but we don't have to come out of executive session and then go back into the other.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is we should do, since we're recommending two separate topics. We will have to separate the recordings, but we can at least go in, do one topic, stop the recording, restart the recording, do the second topic, and then adjourn.
Okay. Appreciate that. So I would entertain a motion to go into an executive session.
I move that we go into the executive session.
Okay.
I think it's recording, but I can't access anything.
Trustee Winkleback, I just want to make sure, were you moving to go into the separate executive sessions on both topics?
Yeah, let's go into separate executive sessions, the separate topics. That's my motion.
And the first one being 24-6 402 4B.
They're both under 402 4B because that is the executive session purpose for receiving legal advice on specific legal questions. The two separate legal topics would be issues related to the separation agreement with the former town administrator, and also just legal issues related to HR. And then the second is claims raised by asset construction, but both would be for the purpose of receiving legal advice.
Does that need to all go into the motion?
It would be, I would suggest the motion be pursuant to, I'm sorry, I don't, where is it?
Legal advice.
I had it right here. CRS 24-6 402 4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on claims raised by asset construction, and for the purpose of receiving legal advice on issues related to employment matters with town staff.
And earlier we had made the motion to switch from item number 13 to item number 12.
I don't think it matters because Asset's not here.
Okay,
Are you one?
To be clear, Asset, it's not clear under the open meetings law whether representatives from Asset could participate in an executive session. That's not exactly clear under the statute. There is going to be a meeting with some folks in a staff level meeting, and the mayor and trustee Price, you have also been invited to attend the meeting tomorrow with Asset, but they were never going to be coming to tonight's meeting and participating in the executive session, as the purpose of the executive session is to advise the board on the claims that Asset has raised with town staff. And so it would be inappropriate to involve them in a discussion concerning possible legal claims they might bring against the town.
so in your motion, which would you like to discuss?